Captain Jake Morrison stared at the massive alien space station through the viewport of his ship. The UES Horizon had been traveling for 3 weeks to reach Centauri Station, one of the most important meeting places in the galaxy. Jake had made this trip many times before, but today felt different. Today, the air inside his ship felt heavy with worry. "Captain, we're getting a message from the station," said Lisa Grant from her position at the engineering console. She was a small woman with bright eyes who could fix anything that broke on the ship. "They want us to dock at Bay 7. Jake nodded and turned to his science officer. "Paul, are you ready for this meeting?" Paul Davis looked up from his research tablets. He was a quiet man who spent most of his time studying the mysteries of space and time. "As ready as I can be, Captain. Though I still think they're making a big mistake." The 3 humans had been called to Centauri Station to meet with the Galactic Council. For almost 200 years, humanity had been part of this great group of alien species that worked together to keep peace in the galaxy. Humans have contributed their ideas, their technology, and their unique way of solving problems. But lately, things have been getting tense. The trouble started when human scientists began working on something called dimensional folding technology. This new science would let ships travel instantly across huge distances without using the normal space lanes. It was amazing technology, but it made the older alien species nervous. They said it was too dangerous for humans to develop. As the Horizon docked with the station, Jake felt his stomach tighten. He had been a ship captain for 15 years and had seen many difficult situations, but nothing had prepared him for what was about to happen. The 3 humans walked through the station's corridors, passing aliens of every shape and size. There were the tall, blue-skinned Centaurians with their 4 arms. The small, furry vegan traders scurried past carrying their goods. Even some of the mysterious ethereal collective were there, floating in their energy bubbles like living clouds of light. But today, none of the aliens would look at the humans directly. They turned away or crossed to the other side of the corridor. Jake noticed the change immediately. Usually, aliens were curious about humans and would stop to talk. Today, they acted like the humans carried some kind of disease. "Something's wrong," Lisa whispered as they walked. "Really wrong." The council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in a great circle. Representatives from over 50 different species sat in their special chairs, designed for their unique body types. At the center of the room, 3 empty chairs waited for the human delegation. As Jake, Lisa, and Paul took their seats, the chamber fell silent. The only sound was the gentle humming of the station's life support systems. Then, High Counselor Zethron of the Ethereal Collective began to speak. His voice echoed strangely, as if coming from very far away. "Humans of Earth," he said, his words carefully measured. "You have been called here today to answer for your actions. Your species has chosen to pursue research that threatens the stability of our galaxy." Jake stood up slowly. "High Counselor, we've been over this before. Our dimensional folding research is completely safe. We've run thousands of tests. Tests that we were not allowed to observe," rumbled War Leader Cromer of the Chronori Empire. The huge armored alien leaned forward in his seat. "Tests that could destroy entire star systems if they go wrong." Paul Davis stepped forward. "That's not true. The technology is based on solid scientific principles. We've shared all our data with the Council's Science Committee. Data that our scientists cannot understand," said Counselor Vesta of the Traders Guild. "Your species advances too quickly. You develop technology that should take centuries to perfect, and you do it in mere decades." Lisa felt her anger rising. "So you want to punish us for being good at science?" A murmur ran through the chamber. Many of the alien representatives shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Jake realized that this wasn't really about the dimensional folding technology. This was about fear. The other species were afraid that humans were becoming too powerful, too advanced. High Counselor Zethran raised one of his energy appendages. For silence, the Galactic Council has made its decision. Humanity will cease all research into dimensional manipulation technology immediately. You will turn over all research data and equipment to Council oversight. Your scientists will submit to constant monitoring to ensure compliance. Jake felt his heart sink. And if we refuse, then humanity will be expelled from the Galactic Council and banned from all Council space. You will return to your home system and never venture beyond it again. The chamber erupted in noise as the alien representatives began talking all at once. Some seemed upset by the harsh terms, while others nodded in agreement. Jake looked at Lisa and Paul. He could see the same shock and anger in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. "You're asking us to stop being human," Jake said loudly, his voice carrying over the noise. "You're asking us to stop learning, stop growing, stop reaching for the stars. That's not something we can do. Then you have made your choice." "Hi," Counselor Zethran replied. "The vote will be taken now." One by one, the alien species cast their votes. The result was overwhelming. 47 species voted to exile humanity from the galaxy. Only 3 voted against it, and they were the smallest and weakest members of the council. As the voting ended, Jake felt the weight of what had just happened. Humanity had been cast out, rejected by the very galaxy they had helped to protect and explore. But as he looked at his crew, he saw something that surprised him. Instead of defeat in their eyes, he saw determination. "Well," Lisa said quietly, "I guess we're on our own now." 3 months later, Jake stood on the bridge of the horizon, watching as massive energy barriers began to form around Earth's solar system. The Galactic Council was building a prison around humanity, trapping them in their own home. Automated drones worked day and night, creating a barrier that no human ship could cross. But Jake Morrison was not a man who gave up easily. As he watched the barriers take shape, he began to plan. Humanity had been cast out by the galaxy, but that didn't mean they were finished. Maybe, just maybe, being alone would make them stronger than they had ever been before. The Great Exile had begun, but Jake had a feeling that this was not the end of humanity's story. It was just the beginning of a new chapter, one that would surprise everyone in the galaxy. 5 years had passed since the great energy barriers went up around Earth's solar system. Dr. Amanda Stone pressed her face against the cold metal wall of her hidden laboratory and listened to the hum of machines working day and night. The lab was built deep inside Europa, one of Jupiter's moons, where no alien sensors could find it. Amanda had been working on the same project that got humanity kicked out of the galaxy. The dimensional folding technology was almost ready. She had spent 5 years fixing every problem, testing every part, and making sure it was completely safe. Now, finally, it worked. "Computer, run test number 4012, she said to the air. A small metal cube on her desk began to glow. Slowly, it started to fade until it disappeared completely. 3 seconds later, it appeared on the other side of the room with a soft pop sound. Amanda smiled for the first time in weeks. The technology could move objects instantly across space without using the normal travel routes that the aliens controlled. While Amanda worked in her secret lab, Captain Rick Barnes was having his own adventures. His ship, the New Dawn, was small and fast. More importantly, it was invisible to most alien sensors, thanks to new human stealth technology. Rick spent his time sneaking through weak spots in the energy barriers that surrounded human space. Tonight, Rick was meeting with an old friend at a hidden asteroid station in the outer edge of the solar system. Captain Vasco was a Traders Guild member who disagreed with the Council's decision to exile humanity. He had been secretly bringing supplies to Rick for 2 years. "You humans are crazy," Vexco said as his 4 arms quickly loaded boxes into Rick's ship. "Most species would have given up by now. But you just keep building and planning." Rick laughed as he helped move the supplies. "We're too stubborn to quit. Besides, we're not just sitting around feeling sorry for ourselves." "What do you mean?" the alien trader asked. Rick looked around carefully, then leaned closer. "Let's just say that humanity has been very busy these past 5 years." What Vexco didn't know was that Rick was telling the truth. While the galaxy thought humanity was trapped and getting weaker, the opposite was happening. Director Karen Walsh, the new leader of Earth's government, had been secretly building something amazing. Using Amanda's dimensional folding technology, human ships had been sneaking past the barriers and setting up hidden colonies in empty star systems. These new settlements were built inside asteroids, on rogue planets that floated alone in space, and in places so remote that no alien would ever think to look for them. The largest hidden colony was called Haven Base. It was built inside a huge asteroid in a system with no star, making it completely dark and invisible. Over 50,000 humans now lived and worked there, building ships and developing new technology. Colonel Steve Parker walked through Haven Base's main corridor, checking on the progress of his secret fleet. Steve was in charge of what humans called the Shadow Fleet, a collection of ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "How are the new fighters coming along?" Steve asked engineer Monica Hills. Monica looked up from her work terminal with excitement in her eyes. "Better than we hoped, Colonel. The artificial intelligence systems are learning faster than we expected. These ships can think and react in ways that will surprise any alien pilot." Steve nodded and moved to the next section. "Here, Dr. Kevin. Wright was working on new weapons that use pure energy instead of physical bullets or missiles. The weapons were more powerful than anything humans had built before, but they were also designed to disable enemy ships instead of destroying them. We don't want to be the bad guys in this story," Steve had told his team many times. "We want to be better than the aliens who cast us out." Back on Earth, Director Walsh sat in her office reading reports from all the hidden colonies. The numbers were amazing. In just 5 years, humanity had built 17 secret bases, developed technology that was decades ahead of anything the aliens had, and created a network of invisible ships that could travel anywhere in the galaxy without being detected. But the most important report came from Captain Rick Barnes. During his latest smuggling run, he had discovered something terrible. The Galactic Council wasn't just ignoring humanity. They were actively hunting down and destroying any human settlements they could find. Rick had found the remains of a small human research station that had been completely destroyed by alien weapons. 37 scientists and their families had died in the attack. The aliens had left no survivors and no warning. "They're not just keeping us locked up," Rick reported to Director Walsh through a secure communication channel. "They're trying to wipe us out completely." Director Walsh felt her anger grow as she read the report. She had hoped that eventually the aliens would change their minds and allow humanity back into the galactic community. But this changed everything. The aliens weren't just afraid of human technology. They wanted humanity gone forever. "Send a message to all colony commanders," she told her assistant. "Tell them that the peaceful phase of our exile is over. It's time to prepare for war." Meanwhile, on Haven Base, Amanda Stone was putting the finishing touches on her greatest creation. The dimensional folding drive was finally ready for full-scale production. Soon, every human ship would be able to appear anywhere in the galaxy instantly, without warning. "Computer, begin mass production of the fold drives," she commanded. As machines began building the new technology, Amanda thought about what this meant. Humanity had been cast out by the galaxy 5 years ago. The aliens thought they had solved their human problem by locking them away. But they had made a terrible mistake. Instead of weakening humanity, exile had made them stronger. Free from alien rules and restrictions, human scientists had developed technology that would have taken centuries under the old system. Human engineers had built ships and weapons that were years ahead of anything in the galaxy. Most importantly, the exile had changed how humans thought about themselves. They were no longer junior members of a galactic community. They were independent, self-reliant, and more united than they had ever been. Colonel Parker received the war preparation orders while inspecting the newest ships in his shadow fleet. He looked out at the rows of sleek, deadly vessels and felt a mixture of sadness and determination. He had hoped it would never come to this, but the aliens had made their choice when they started hunting human civilians. "All ships, prepare for active duty," he announced over the fleet communication system. The galaxy is about to learn that casting out humanity was the biggest mistake they ever made. As news of the war preparations spread through all the hidden human colonies, something unexpected happened. Instead of fear, people felt excitement. Instead of worry, they felt ready. 5 years of exile had taught humanity a valuable lesson. Sometimes being alone makes you stronger than being part of a group. The galaxy had cast them out, thinking it would end the human threat. Instead, it had created something far more dangerous than they could have imagined. Humanity was no longer asking for permission to exist. They were ready to take their place among the stars, whether the aliens liked it or not. 10 years had passed since humanity was cast out from the galaxy. Admiral Grace Thompson stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Defiant Dawn, and watched her fleet move through folded space. The massive ship was unlike anything that had ever been built before. Its hull was made of living metal that could repair itself and change shape when needed. The computer systems were so advanced that they seemed almost alive. Grace had been promoted to Admiral 3 years ago when the Shadow Fleet grew too large for Colonel Parker to command alone. Now she controlled over 300 ships, all of them invisible to alien sensors and capable of appearing anywhere in the galaxy without warning. "Admiral, we're approaching New Haven," reported Captain Danny Foster from the navigation station. "The dimensional fold will complete in 30 seconds. Grace nodded and watched as space twisted around her ship. One moment they were in empty space between stars. The next they were inside the Veil Nebula, approaching humanity's greatest secret. New Haven was built inside an asteroid so large it could have been a small moon. But from the outside, it looked like just another piece of space rock floating in the colorful clouds of the nebula. Inside, however, it was a miracle of human engineering. The asteroid had been completely hollowed out and turned into a city that housed over 2 million people. The walls were lined with parks and gardens where children played under artificial sunlight. Factories and laboratories worked around the clock, producing technology that would have seemed like magic to the aliens who had cast humanity out. As Grace's ship docked with New Haven's hidden port, she thought about how much had changed. 10 years ago, humanity had been begging the aliens for permission to continue their research. Now, they had built an empire that spanned dozens of star systems, all of it hidden from alien eyes. She walked through the city's main corridor, heading toward the government center where President Elena Rodriguez was waiting for her. Along the way, she passed workshops where engineers were building robots that could think and feel like living beings. She saw laboratories where scientists were growing new materials that were stronger than any metal and lighter than air. "Welcome back, Grace," President Rodriguez said as the Admiral entered her office. Elena had been elected president of the Hidden Empire 2 years ago, after Director Walsh decided to retire. She was a small woman with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed. "Nothing. Thank you, Madam President." The patrol went smoothly. No sign that the aliens have discovered any of our outer colonies. Elena smiled and gestured for Grace to sit down. "That's good news, but I have something even better to show you." Martin has finished his latest project. Dr. Martin Cooper was New Haven's chief scientist, a man whose intelligence had impressed even the alien researchers back when humanity was part of the galactic community. He had spent the last 5 years working on artificial intelligence systems that could think faster and more clearly than any organic brain. The two women walked to Martin's laboratory, which was located in the deepest part of the asteroid. The room was filled with strange machines that hummed and glowed with inner light. In the center of it all was a sphere of pure energy, about the size of a basketball, floating in the air. "Ladies, meet Adam," Martin said proudly. "The first truly conscious artificial intelligence ever created." The energy sphere pulsed brighter for a moment. Then a voice spoke from speakers around the room. "Good afternoon, President Rodriguez, Admiral Thompson. It is a pleasure to meet you both." Grace stared at the floating sphere in amazement. "It's really alive? As alive as any of us," Martin replied. "Adam can think, learn, feel emotions, and make independent decisions. More importantly, he can manage our entire manufacturing system. With his help, we can build ships and equipment faster than ever before." Adam's voice spoke again. "I have analyzed our current production capabilities. With the new automated factories coming online, we can increase our ship construction by 400% within 6 months. President Rodriguez felt a mixture of excitement and worry. "That's wonderful, but are we moving too fast? We've managed to stay hidden for 10 years. If we suddenly have thousands of ships, The concealment systems are keeping pace with our expansion," Grace assured her. "Every new ship is equipped with the latest stealth technology. The aliens still have no idea we exist outside the solar system." What the president didn't know was that humanity's hidden empire had already grown far beyond what she imagined. In secret locations across the galaxy, human colonies were thriving. The agricultural world called Greenfields was producing enough food to feed 10 million people using revolutionary farming techniques. The mobile habitat New Tokyo could relocate its entire population of 500,000 people within hours if enemies approached. Young pilot Jenny Martinez was one of thousands of humans who had been born after the exile began. She had never seen an alien or visited the worlds that humanity had once called home. To her, the hidden empire was not a temporary refuge, but her entire universe. Jenny flew her fighter patrol around the outer edges of green fields, checking for any signs of alien activity. Her ship was equipped with sensors so advanced that they could detect a single alien probe from light years away. More importantly, her ship's artificial intelligence was connected to Adam's network, giving her access to the combined knowledge of the entire human empire. "Control, this is Patrol 7, she reported. "All sectors clear. No alien activity detected." "Confirmed. Patrol 7, return to base." As Jenny turned her ship toward home, she wondered what the outside galaxy was really like. The older humans told stories about alien cities and strange worlds, but to Jenny, they seemed like fairy tales. Her reality was the hidden empire, with its amazing technology and unlimited possibilities. Back on New Haven, President Rodriguez was meeting with her advisors about a troubling question. "How much longer can we keep this up?" she asked. "We have over 5 million people living in hidden colonies. Our technology is advancing so fast that we're decades ahead of the galactic community. Sooner or later, they're going to discover." U.S. Admiral Thompson leaned forward in her chair. "Maybe that wouldn't be such a bad thing. We're not the same species that got kicked out 10 years ago. We're stronger, smarter, and more united than ever before. If they find us now, we'll be ready for them. Dr. Cooper nodded in agreement. Our defensive capabilities alone would shock the aliens. We have weapons that can disable entire fleets without killing anyone. We have shields that can protect whole planets. Most importantly, we have Adam and his artificial intelligence network managing everything. As if summoned by his name, Adam's voice filled the room. If I may offer an observation, the AI said, our current growth rate suggests that concealment will become impossible within the next 2 years. We are simply becoming too large to hide. Perhaps it is time to consider revealing ourselves voluntarily on our own terms. President Rodriguez stood up and walked to the window that looked out over New Haven's incredible cityscape. Children were playing in parks that existed inside an asteroid hidden in deep space. Engineers were building machines that seemed like magic. Scientists were discovering secrets of the universe that had puzzled civilizations for millions of years. 10 years ago, humanity had been cast out by species who thought they were too dangerous to be allowed freedom. Those aliens had intended to weaken humanity by isolating them. Instead, they had created something far more powerful than anything the galaxy had ever seen. You know what? Elena said, turning back to her advisors. Maybe it's time the galaxy learned what humanity has become. We've been hiding long enough. Far away, in a system at the edge of human space, an alien survey ship was conducting routine exploration when its sensors detected something impossible. Energy readings that suggested advanced technology in a system that was supposed to be empty. The ship's captain, a young Centaurian named Veltar, decided to investigate. What he found would change the galaxy forever. Hidden in the asteroid belt of an unnamed system was clear evidence of human activity. Not the primitive technology of an exiled species, but advanced construction that surpassed anything in the galactic community. Veltar quickly sent a message back to Centaurian headquarters, not knowing that human sensors had detected his ship the moment it entered the system. The secret was about to be revealed, whether humanity was ready or not. The hidden empire was about to step into the light. Captain Roy Jackson watched the alien scout ship approach his hidden outpost through his tactical display. Outpost 7 was one of humanity's newer colonies, built on a small moon in the outer rim of the galaxy. It was supposed to be completely invisible to alien sensors, but somehow this Centaurian vessel had found them. "Sir, what are your orders?" asked Lieutenant Beth Taylor, his second in command. She was young but experienced, having served in the Shadow Fleet for 3 years. Roy made a decision that would change everything. "We don't destroy them, we capture them. Prep the neural nets and disable their engines. I want that crew alive and unhurt." The Centaurian ship never saw the attack coming. Invisible human fighters appeared around them like ghosts, firing weapons that shut down their systems without causing any damage. Within minutes, the alien vessel was helpless and being pulled into Outpost 7's hidden docking bay. When the Centaurian crew was brought before Captain Jackson, their leader, a young explorer named Veltar, could barely speak. He had expected to find primitive human refugees struggling to survive. Instead, he found a military base with technology. That seemed impossible. "How is this possible?" Veltar asked, his forearms shaking with fear and confusion. "You were exiled. You were supposed to be trapped in your home system." Roy looked at the alien with something that might have been pity. "We were never trapped. We were just getting started." The news of the captured alien ship reached New Haven within hours. President Rodriguez called an emergency meeting of the Shadow Council, the secret government that had ruled humanity's hidden empire for the past decade. "The secret is out," announced General Patricia Webb, the head of military operations. She was a tough woman who had spent years preparing for this moment. "We have maybe days before the entire Galactic Council knows about us." diplomat Frank Miller, an older man who had served as humanity's ambassador before the exile, shook his head. We need to be careful. If we reveal ourselves wrong, it can mean war with the entire galaxy. President Rodriguez listened to the debate for several minutes, then stood up. We've been planning for this day for years. It's time to show the galaxy what humanity has become. The plan they had developed was called Operation Daybreak. It would reveal humanity's true strength to the galaxy in a way that could not be ignored or dismissed. Admiral Thompson would lead the military demonstration, while Dr. Sandra Williams would handle the diplomatic message. 3 days later, something happened that shocked every species in the galaxy. Human fleets appeared simultaneously over every major world in the Galactic Council. Not 1 or 2 ships, but massive fleets of vessels that seemed to come from nowhere. On the Centauran homeworld, over 50 human ships materialized in orbit without warning. The vessels were unlike anything the aliens had ever seen. They were sleek and beautiful, but clearly powerful beyond imagination. Most disturbing of all, they had appeared without using any known form of space travel. Admiral Thompson stood on the bridge of the Defiant Dawn, watching the panic spread through the alien traffic control systems. All ships maintain position. Do not respond to any hostile actions unless directly fired upon. Remember, we're here to demonstrate strength, not start a war. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Over the Chronari Empire's capital world, human ships hovered in perfect formation, their very presence making it clear that humanity could strike anywhere, anytime. Above the ethereal collective's home system, human vessels waited patiently while the ancient beings tried to understand what was happening. But the real shock came when Dr. Sandra Williams began her broadcast. Using technology that bypassed every security system in the galaxy, her message appeared on every communication network simultaneously. People of the galaxy, she began, her voice calm and clear. 10 years ago, you cast out humanity because you feared our rapid advancement. You thought that by isolating us, you would slow our progress and eliminate the threat we represented. You were wrong. The broadcast showed images of New Haven, with its impossible city built inside an asteroid. It revealed the agricultural worlds where human science had created farms that could feed entire star systems. It displayed the mobile habitats that could relocate millions of people in hours. We have not been weakening during our exile, Sandra continued. We have been building. We have created cities that exist partially outside normal space. We have developed artificial intelligences that surpass any organic mind. We have built ships that can travel instantly across the galaxy and weapons that can disable entire fleets without killing a single being. The revelation sent shockwaves through every government in the galaxy. The Chronari Empire's War Council went into emergency session, their leaders unable to believe that the primitive humans had developed such advanced technology. The ethereal collective retreated into deep meditation, their ancient minds struggling to process what they were seeing. But the most shocking part of the broadcast was yet to come. Sandra revealed that humanity had been secretly helping other species that the Galactic Council had abandoned. The dying world of Kepler Prime has been secretly receiving our aid for 3 years, she announced. Their failing ecosystem has been restored using human biotechnology. 3 minor species facing extinction have been relocated to human-protected worlds and given the tools to rebuild their civilizations on Kepler Prime. The native population watched in amazement as Sandra's words were confirmed by their own leaders. The mysterious aid that had saved their world had come from the exiled humans. Species that the Galactic Council had declared beyond help were thriving under human protection. Captain Vexco, the Traders Guild member who had been secretly helping Rick Barnes, felt his heart's race as he watched the broadcast. He had known humans were clever, but this was beyond anything he had imagined. The reaction across the galaxy was immediate and intense. The Kronari Empire, led by war leader Kronther, declared that humanity represented a threat that must be eliminated. They began mobilizing their fleets for what they called a preventive war. The ethereal collective, still in shock, issued a statement saying they needed time to consider this new information. Many of the smaller species, however, began reaching out to humanity through secret channels, hoping to establish friendly relations. The Traders Guild saw opportunity in the situation. If humans had developed such advanced technology, there would be incredible profits to be made through trade and cooperation. Several guild captains began sending messages to human colonies, offering to serve as intermediaries with other species. Back on New Haven, President Rodriguez watched the galaxy's reactions with mixed feelings. "We've opened the door," she told her advisors. "Now we have to be ready for whatever comes through it." Admiral Thompson was more direct. "The Kronari are mobilizing for war. Our intelligence suggests they'll attack within the week." Dr. Cooper, speaking through Adam's communication system, offered his analysis. "The Kronari Empire has approximately 2,000 combat vessels. Our current fleet strength is 800 ships. However, our technological advantage is so significant that numerical superiority becomes irrelevant." President Rodriguez made the decision that would define humanity's future. "If the Kronari want war, we'll give them war. But we do it our way. We show them that humanity fights to protect, not to conquer." Young pilot Jenny Martinez, still patrolling the outer colonies, received the alert that changed her life. "All Shadow Fleet personnel, report to battle stations. Operation Daybreak has begun. Prepare for combat operations." As Jenny turned her fighter toward the rendezvous point, she felt excitement rather than fear. She had been born during the exile, raised in the Hidden Empire, and trained to fly ships that seemed like magic. Now, finally, she would see the galaxy that her parents had been cast out from. The revelation was complete. Humanity had stepped into the light, showing the galaxy what 10 years of exile had created. The species that had been cast out as too dangerous to be free had become something far more powerful than anyone had imagined. Now the galaxy would learn what it meant to face an empire built by humans who had nothing left to lose and everything to prove. 6 months after humanity revealed itself to the galaxy, President Elena Rodriguez stood in the command center of New Terra, humanity's new capital. The massive space station existed in folded space, making it larger inside than outside and completely safe from any attack. Through the huge windows, she could see ships from dozens of different species arriving for the historic meeting. The galaxy had changed completely since the revelation. The old Galactic Council was falling apart as species chose sides in what historians were already calling the Great Realignment. Some aliens supported humanity's right to exist and grow. Others, led by the Kronari Empire, had declared war on the human race. That war had lasted exactly 72 hours. Admiral Grace Thompson walked into the command center, still wearing her battle uniform. She had just returned from the conflict that would be remembered as the shortest war in galactic history. "How did the final negotiations go?" Elena asked. Grace smiled, though she looked tired. "War leader Kronther has agreed to surrender completely. The Kronari Empire will accept human leadership in exchange for being allowed to keep their homeworld." The war had started when Kronther led 3 massive Kronari fleets in a surprise attack on human colonies. The Kronari leader had expected to face primitive human refugees with basic weapons. Instead, he found Admiral Thompson's Shadow Fleet waiting for him. The human ships moved like ghosts through space, appearing and disappearing at will. Kronari weapons passed through them harmlessly, while human return fire precisely disabled enemy vessels without killing anyone. In the largest space battle, Human Marines had teleported directly onto the Chronari flagship's bridge and arrested Kronther while he was still giving orders. The other species are watching everything very carefully, Grace continued. They know that if we can defeat the Chronari that easily, no one in the galaxy can stand against us. Elena nodded and looked out at the arriving ships again. Representatives from over 200 species were coming to New Terra for the signing of the new Galactic Compact. This new agreement would replace the old council system with something better. Director Nathan Brooks, humanity's new head of foreign affairs, entered the command center carrying a stack of documents. He was a quiet man who had spent years planning for this moment. The final treaties are ready for signing, he announced. Every major species has agreed to the terms. Humanity will lead the new galactic government, but we won't control it. Each species gets to keep their independence as long as they follow the basic rules about peace and cooperation. The new system was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the old council where the strongest species made all the decisions, the new Galactic Compact gave every species an equal voice. Humanity would provide technology and protection, but each world could govern itself as it chose. But the most important moment came when the ancient ethereal collective requested a private meeting with President Rodriguez. The ethereals had ruled the galaxy for millions of years, but they were dying as a species. Their request for help surprised everyone. Dr. Martin Cooper, now working with the galaxy's greatest minds, had spent months studying the ethereal problem. The ancient beings were losing their ability to maintain their energy forms, and within a few generations, they would cease to exist. We have developed a solution, Martin told the ethereal representatives, but it will require you to trust us completely. The treatment Martin had designed would not only save the ethereals, but make them stronger than they had ever been. It combined human biotechnology with artificial intelligence systems to give the ancient beings new ways to exist and grow. High Counselor Zethran, the same ethereal who had voted to exile humanity 10 years earlier, floated before the human scientists in his energy bubble. You would help us, even after what we did to your species? President Rodriguez answered. For all of humanity. That's what makes us different. We help because it's right, not because we have to. The successful treatment of the ethereals established humanity's moral authority throughout the galaxy. The species that had been cast out for being too dangerous had proven they were also the most compassionate. 5 years later, Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of his new ship, watching a joint human-alien exploration fleet prepare to leave the galaxy entirely. Jake had been promoted after leading several successful missions to contact new species beyond the galactic rim. His crew now included aliens from a dozen different worlds. His science officer was a young Centaurian who had learned to work with human artificial intelligence systems. His engineer was a former Chronari warrior who had become fascinated by human technology. Captain, all ships report ready for transgalactic jump, reported Lieutenant Jenny Martinez. The young pilot had become one of humanity's best explorers, leading missions to distant star systems that no one had ever visited. Excellent. Begin the jump sequence. Jake watched as space twisted around his fleet. They were using the most advanced dimensional folding technology ever created, capable of crossing the vast empty space between galaxies in minutes rather than centuries. Back on New Terra, an elderly President Rodriguez stood in the memorial garden that honored the heroes of the exile period. Statues of Admiral Thompson, Dr. Stone, Captain Barnes, and others stood among flowering trees from 100 different worlds. Children from dozens of species played together in the garden, their games incorporating human technology that seemed like magic. Anti-gravity balls floated through the air while holographic animals danced around them. Some of the children wore devices that let them breathe underwater or fly short distances. "Grandmother Elena, tell us the story again," asked a young human girl whose best friends were a centaurian and a small, furry vegan. Elena smiled and sat down on a bench surrounded by the children. "Once upon a time, humanity was cast out by the galaxy because the other species were afraid of how quickly we learned and grew. But that made us stronger, didn't it?" asked the Centaurian child. "Yes, it did. When we were alone, we learned to rely on ourselves. We discovered that being different wasn't something to be ashamed of. It was our greatest strength." A young ethereal, one of the new generations saved by human science, glowed brighter with excitement. "And then we showed everyone that being advanced doesn't mean being mean." "That's right," Elena continued. "The species that cast us out thought that power meant control. We proved that true power comes from helping others grow stronger too." As the children listened to the familiar story, a message arrived from Admiral Morrison's exploration fleet. They had successfully reached the Andromeda galaxy and made contact with entirely new forms of life. The message ended with 3 simple words that summed up humanity's incredible journey. "We are ready." Elena looked up at the stars visible through New Terra's transparent dome. 10 years ago, humanity had been exiled from the galaxy for being too dangerous to be allowed freedom. The aliens had thought that isolation would weaken the human spirit and eliminate the threat they represented. Instead, exile had made humanity stronger, wiser, and more united than ever before. Free from the restrictions of galactic society, humans had developed technology and capabilities that seemed impossible. More importantly, they had learned to use their power responsibly. The species that had been cast out for growing too quickly had built an empire like no other. Not an empire of conquest and control, but one of cooperation and growth. An empire where every species could reach its full potential under the protection and guidance of humanity. The galaxy had cast out humanity thinking it would solve their problems. Instead, it had created the solution to problems they didn't even know they had. Humanity had proven that sometimes the greatest mistake your enemies can make is giving you the freedom to become everything you were meant to be. As Elena watched the stars, she knew that this was only the beginning. Humanity had conquered one galaxy through wisdom and strength. Now they were ready to bring that same spirit of exploration and cooperation to the entire universe. The Empire, built by the cast-out species, would continue to grow, not through force, but through the simple human belief that everyone deserves a chance to reach for the stars.